1, 2, 3.
Guerra Movie House!
What is up, you guys? So obviously I'm going to be watching 2001 A Space Odyssey, a Stanley Kubrick film. One of the most controversial filmmakers of all time. 2001 A Space Odyssey is supposed to be one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. It has all this huge hype. People are crazy about it, especially Kubrick fans. They think it's like a masterpiece. And I love watching controversial films. I love watching movies that people love and hate, can argue about it for such a very long time and defend, because that's what I enjoy doing. So I'm very, very curious about this movie. It is 2.5 hours long, and because I've seen other Stanley Kubrick movies, I know that it's gonna feel like it's a lot longer than that. But I have time because I just put the kids to bed and my wife is outside and she's on the phone. So I know she's gonna be out there for a very, very long time because that's just how it works around here. I'm 17 minutes into the movie and there's hardly been any sound, hardly any action whatsoever. I mean, this movie is so slow paced. But the last 10 seconds that I just saw, they were amazing. The movie so far is just a tribe of apes, cavemen. I don't know if this movie has chapters or not, but it said the dawn of man, so I'm assuming this is like the beginning of mankind. And it's shot beautifully. Of course, Stanley Kubrick does a really good job at, his camera placement, and he knows what to do with the camera. But the pacing is so slow. Hopefully it gets better. I guess we'll see. Alright, you guys, there's an intermission. I did not know there was an intermission, but I'm glad that there is because, wow. Okay, so far, the intermission stopped at 1 hour and 27 minutes, and there's an hour left. By the way, when was the last time a movie had an intermission? I gotta look that up because what movie did have the last intermission? But the movie has an hour left, and the movie is paced. The pacing of this movie is so slow. I mean, I'm an hour and 27 minutes in, and I feel like I've been sitting here for 3. But I am enjoying it. It's hard to explain. It's weird because the pacing is so slow, but once something big happens, I feel like it was worth it. But I do kind of wish it was shorter or it wouldn't take so long. But at this very moment where the intermission appeared, that something big is about to happen. I feel like the tension, the build-up is so good. My hopes are up and they're high right now because I feel like something amazing is about to happen, and hopefully I'm not wrong. Okay, but yeah, intermission. I don't want to pause it for too long because that just means I'm gonna be doing this a lot later than I want to because I do want to hang out a little bit. But really quick, I'm gonna go take a piss. Don't ask me why I'm sharing that. I'm gonna get a drink and I'm gonna keep on watching. Movie is over and I'm extremely confused. I feel like the last 15-20 minutes of the movie went by too quick, that it just ruined everything for me. I don't know, it did, but it didn't. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm pissed off at how confused I am. I need to do some research. Let's go to the movie room and talk about what just happened. Oh God, I don't even know what to say. Okay, don't get me wrong. I really, really enjoy Kubrick films. I think he's a great filmmaker. He's one of a kind. There's no other filmmakers like him. Some filmmakers are close to the style that he has, like David Lynch, but no one comes close. He had a talent, he had a gift, And he's a fantastic filmmaker. He's great. I love his work. Truth be told, 2001: A Space Odyssey is probably the most artistic film I have ever seen in my whole entire life. For that, I love it. Just for that alone. The artisticness, if that's a word, of it is just, it's pure brilliance. It's amazing. It's beautiful to look at. Stanley Kubrick really knew what he was doing. The movie sort of it's sort of split up into like 3 or 4 different parts. The first part being the dawn of mankind. And what I mean by that is apes. There were like cavemen / apes, I think. The world is completely empty, of course. There's like nothing. It's just them. The world looks like a giant desert. This whole thing was like a 20-minute thing with no sound, no dialogue or anything, just like them grunting and stuff. It did feel like it was taking way too long to make its point, but once it made its point, it was beautiful. Not only is it the most artistic movie I've ever seen, but it's the most symbolic movie. The way the first part of the movie ends is that these apes, cavemen, creatures find this big, huge, I think they called it a monolith. Crap. Some of you are going to be really mad at me for not remembering what it's called. This is the one thing that really bothered me about this movie, that I honestly, like, I sort of get it, but I kind of don't. Okay, you know the game Domino? The dominoes? Imagine one that's like 2 stories high, and it's made out of like a hard stone, and it's shaped to perfection, and it's huge, okay? These apes find one, and it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. There's nothing on it. It's perfectly clean. It's black all the way around, and it's just standing there, as big as it is, and I mean, of course, they don't know what it is. So it's just standing there doing absolutely nothing. Of course, the viewer doesn't even know what it is. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where it came from or what it was doing. But it's just standing there. And that's pretty much how the first part ends. And then the second part, which jumps to like millions and millions of years after. And it's pretty much this scientist is in space, and he's going to study a top secret mission. Apparently they found something on the moon. They're not really quite sure what it is, but they know that this doctor, this scientist, might be able to help. And you see all these beautiful shots that Stanley Kubrick created for this movie that, like, they really are mind-blowing. It's amazing to know that this movie was made in the 1960s, because throughout the whole entire movie, you honestly forget. You forget that this movie was made in the 60s because it's so timeless. The way he shot this movie just works. It was like his mind itself was way ahead of its time. And yeah, the movie might be called 2001, and of course, we haven't met any aliens. We haven't found any sign of life on the moon or on Jupiter. But the way he made it is just so believable, and it's timeless. I mean, you can watch this movie now and it almost feels like it was shot last year. And I'm not joking. It's so beautiful to look at. Okay, so you have this scientist who was called to join this group, and they end up flying to the moon. And once they get to the moon, you see them pretty much trying to study this thing that they found. And what is that thing? It's the exact same thing from the Dawn of Man. That big, giant, black brick. You know what I mean? It's just standing there on the moon. And the weird thing about this one is that it was buried. And it's just sitting there. They don't know what it is, where it came from, who put it there. All they know is, I think he said it was like 4 million years old. I think one of the scientists said. The other weird thing is that it was pointing right at Jupiter, which brings us to the third part. Okay, so at this point, I'm like an hour and a half into the movie, and I'm still confused. Like, I kind of know what's going on, but I'm still lost at the same time. So this big black thing is just standing there doing absolutely nothing. They don't know where it came from, who put it there, and they don't even know what to do with it. They just start taking pictures around it, and they do realize that it's pointing at Jupiter, and so they decide, let's go to Jupiter. Let's see what's going on. They only give us a little tiny bit of information. All we know is that it's on the moon, it's pointing at Jupiter, and it's 4 million years old. But that doesn't really tell me anything because I'm still wondering where it came from, who put it there, and what does it do? What's its purpose? So then we jump to the third part of this movie, which I have to say, it's my favorite part of the movie. I mean, if the third chapter of this movie was its own movie, I would consider it a masterpiece. Because it's that great, it's that fantastic. And even though it does have scenes that run so slow, it takes forever for things to get across, for things to happen, because it is Stanley Kubrick, I still loved it. I didn't love this whole entire movie, but the third part was just amazing. Why did it take so long for this movie to get to such a great part? You have these two guys who are on a ship on their way to Jupiter, okay, because they've been told that there's something there. They're not quite sure what it is, but they've been told that there's something there, so they were sent there on their own mission. They're pretty much taking care of the ship during the flight there, and there are other 3 scientists, other 3 doctors that were hired for the study, but they're sleeping the whole entire time. They are in hibernation. The really cool thing about this part is HAL 9000. Without spoiling anything, all I want to say is that HAL, H-A-L 9000, is one of the greatest sci-fi villains of all time. I absolutely love this machine. He brought so much suspense to the movie. HAL 9000 is the actual ship. Okay, the whole entire ship that these people are in is a computer. This machine talks to you, and whenever this third chapter starts, you actually hear an interview between a newscaster or something and HAL, the computer. And the way this computer talks, the way HAL 9000 talks, the way HAL talks is almost like he might as well be human. He's supposed to be like the smartest computer ever, which is why these scientists, these doctors need him. They need his help to survive out in outer space, and they make it very clear. This computer has never failed. This computer has never malfunctioned, has never done anything wrong. It does everything that it means to do. Whenever you start feeling the tension between the ship, the computer, HAL, and these 2 scientists, like, you almost feel, or you do feel, or at least I did, feel like HAL is the worst villain ever. Like, he is real, like he's a person. And I do consider him a character in the movie because he has such a huge part. And even though I'm going to admit I don't necessarily understand the point of this movie, I might be wrong about it. I feel like HAL, the computer, he pretty much like tells us what the movie is about. Because in my opinion, I think the movie is about 2 different things. And one of them being that we should be careful with our technology. We need to be careful with how far we go on Earth, or at least start to question where are we headed. But I don't want to talk about the third part too much because it will spoil a lot. So if you're interested, look it up or spend 2.5 hours watching this movie. If you're a film buff, you will. So the fourth and final part of this movie is the part that I honestly do not understand. Without spoiling anything about the third part, one of the scientists ends up getting shot out into outer space. And the way this flying through the galaxy ends is just like that, out of nowhere. He wakes up in like the fanciest bedroom ever. Am I spoiling it? I don't know. Should I be telling you this? It might be a little bit too much. But for those of you that have watched it, okay, and you want to know what I think about the movie, I think this movie is about mankind pretty much from beginning to end. And without spoiling the ending, I believe that it's also about reincarnation. Okay? For those of you that haven't watched it, I'm sorry if I'm making no sense, but for those of you that have watched it, let me know down below if I'm right or if I'm wrong. But I believe this movie is about the beginning and end of mankind. The flaws that we create during that time. Trying to see how far we can go during that time. And then starting over. That's honestly what I think it is. Especially because of the fourth part. Is the only part that really confused me. But if I had to put it all together right now, which I feel like I do because I'm doing this review, I would have to say that the movie is about the beginning and the end of mankind and then starting over. The directing of Stanley Kubrick, I think, is brilliant. The point that he's trying to get across, I think, is brilliant. But I don't think it's a fantastic, brilliant film. But either way, I'm glad I watched it. I really did enjoy it, even though I might sound like I didn't. I really did enjoy this movie, and I'm really glad I watched it. And I have a lot of research to do because I really do want to understand it. But that's it, you guys. Thank you very much for watching, as usual. Leave a comment down below if you have one. Like the video if you like, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you for watching Guerra Movie House. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Peace out, homies.